Police car? Check. With a light bar? Check. Microphone? Check. Cameraman? Check. Sergeant? Working already? Check. This must be Crime Watch. Hello and welcome to Crime Watch. I'm Jane Cameron with Sergeant Mike Levchick of the Buena Park Police Department. So tell me what was going on behind us.
Well, it's something that we encounter pretty much daily here in the Buena Park Police Department. It was a non-injury traffic accident. So what happened was that someone got rear-ended, a little tap in the back bumper there, and they were trying to exchange information. They wanted some documentation that we came out here and helped them out to exchange their information.
Now, did the police department need to be here to exchange the documentation?
Well, actually, not really, no. This type of a collision that occurred is very minor damage. Now, it's a newer car, so it might cost it a little bit more, but nobody was injured. Nobody was going to jail. Nobody's going to a hospital. Nobody's dead or dying. So basically, in these types of situations, when it's a non-injury, minor damage collision, what we'll do is we'll assist people in exchanging information. And that means you still got to have your insurance coverage, you still got to have your driver's license, you still got to have your registration and all that kind of stuff. But what we do is, instead of people, because a lot of people when they get into an accident, they might be kind of frazzled and not sure exactly what to do, or they're kind of scared. What we'll do is we'll come out and we'll fill out little cards for them that has all the information on it. Plus, on the back of the card, it has what we call a documentation number. And that documentation number is sufficient enough for insurance purposes so that when they call their insurance companies up, they say, well, did you call the police department? And we'll say, yes, we did. Here's the documentation number. But what we try to do is we explain to them that it is not a police report, because one of the questions I'll ask them, I'll say, you know not to come and see me tomorrow and ask me for where my report is, because I'm explaining to you. And if I get a yes, then I know they understood. But again, it's really, in these types of things, it's more of a civil issue. It's more of who's going to pay for whose car. A police report would really support any type of prosecution that might arise from it. Like, for example, these types of collisions, there's what's called a primary collision factor. And this one here, in this case, is that someone was traveling at a speed unsafe for conditions present. It's in violation of 22-350 of the California Vehicle Code. And what that means is that a safe speed to have been traveling to avoid hitting the back end of another car is 0. So they may have only been going 1 or 2 miles an hour, but the collision factor on it is violating the basic speed law to avoid them.
Can you tell that he was a motor officer?
You know, it's funny because that was so long ago, but I still
Boots,
have it.
helmet, looks really mean on that motorcycle, and here he's just a nice guy.
I still have it in me. It's in my blood. I can't get rid of it. But again, like I said, a police report, or if there's serious injuries going on, and somebody's going to the hospital or someone's going to jail for DUI and stuff like that, then we're going to go ahead and write a report and do an investigation and all that kind of stuff. But simple stuff like this, it's a quick exchange of information. Here's your documentation number. It's not a report, it's a documentation number. Take it to your insurance company, let them figure it out.
And if they didn't want to share information, that's another way the officer could help?
Yeah, exactly.
You need to share.
Yeah. You are required by law to exchange information at the scene of an accident, no matter how minor it is. A lot of people will say, well, it's not my fault, I don't need to give her my information and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, you kind of have to. So the law is very clear. It says that if you're involved in a non-injury accident, regardless of who you think is at fault, you're still required to exchange the basic information.
Fortunately, these cars could drive away.
Yes. Yep. They're both drivable. One has already left. The other one is probably telling her husband what happened.
And we're done.
Exactly.
So, We've talked to you about how when it's hot outside, you have to be careful about pets and vehicles, and we're in a scorcher period of time. And there's a call right now that we're heading to about two dogs left in a vehicle.
Right, exactly. Now it's not necessarily hot outside, but it's really humid. So I guess that makes it still kind of warm as far as the temperature factor is concerned. But somebody called and said that they see a couple of dogs inside of locked inside of a car. They appear to be in distress. We're not, sure exactly what's going on with it. We got officers rolling. We're heading over that way too. But yeah, it's. I mean, I think just last time we were together, we talked about safety and taking care of dogs in the hot weather and stuff like that, and not leaving them in cars. But sure enough, here we go. We're heading to a call just like that.
So I had picked up some information that I thought was interesting, and you've noted that the temperature is 83. Right. So this says that if the outside temperature is 80, in 10 minutes, the inside temperature of a car will be 99 degrees. Oh boy. Okay. In 20 minutes, the inside temperature is 109. Oh. And these dogs, they say, have been in the car for 25 minutes.
Yeah, that's the information that we have. We don't know how accurate that is. I mean, a lot of times people will say, they've been in there for 3 hours and they've been in there for 3 minutes, just to maybe get us out there faster. But, obviously we like to think people are giving us accurate information, but sometimes it can get embellished.
Right. But even with 80 degrees outside, which isn't really bad, this says 30 minutes, it's 114 degrees, and in an hour, it's 123 degrees. No one, including an animal, could handle that.
Right, exactly, and that's it's so true that people don't think about it, and sure enough, they'll do these things, and they're not really thinking about the situation until it's probably too late, which is horrible.
So fortunately, we weren't the first ones that arrived on scene.
Right. Matter of fact, officers got on scene just before we did, and they found out that the dogs were fine and everything is okay. The dogs were, apparently the owners were in the car with the dogs. So if there's anything about it, I guess maybe the person inside the car would go, oh man, it's getting a little warm in here. Maybe I ought to roll the windows down a little bit, as opposed to going in and shopping for a couple of hours at Target. But both officers confirmed that the dogs were fine, the person was fine, and there's no criminal activity involved.
Cool. You can disregard it to 925 Victor 32 at 7501 Commonwealth and be planning for kids to red trailer Prius with TC damage to the front. 732 on Commonwealth. 34 and 14 reference. Affirm. The suspect is in the park near the pavilion, which is located to the rear of the park. There might be some type of work routine. It sounds like the suspect told the RPD owed him money. The suspect is known as Julian.
So we're going back again.
73 empty park. Julian is wearing a light blue jersey, tank top, and green pants. That's some of your suspect.
Right now we're at Peak Park, and there's a few officers out here.
Right, we just got a call the call came out as a robbery that just occurred. Now, what happened was, it was reported initially that someone got their skateboard stolen from them by somebody using force. No weapons were involved, but somebody, grabbed the skateboard from somebody, and so that makes it a robbery of a person. You can't just, take things from people and then push them down and all that kind of stuff. It definitely, obviously, the skateboards, unless it's a real cool skateboard and worth thousands of dollars, it's probably well worth well below the threshold of $900. So, but anyway, it becomes a felony when it comes to situations like this. But now we're getting more and more information as we hear this, is that it sounds like it might be a financial dispute between some of these people. So what comes out as something initially as a robbery, like some bad guy just pushed somebody down and beat them up and took their stuff, it sounds like it's kind of downgraded now to more of a maybe a dispute between two people who owe each other money or something like that. But obviously we're taking it very seriously. We got several officers driving around right now looking for the suspect who the victim apparently knows. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of it. But until proven otherwise, you may have a robbery. You don't know. You still can't take things by force like that. But at the same time, it's kind of mitigating when there's situations where somebody owes money. Again, not to say that it's condoning it or making it any more right, but it's one of those things where we just kind of go, okay, it's not stranger danger, jumping out of the bushes and grabbing somebody and pushing them down and stealing their skateboard and running off. That in and of itself right there is an out-and-out robbery.
So now that you've taken us off-roading in the police car.
Sorry about that. Well, as I explained earlier, we're on the north side here of Peak Park in the grass area. That's why we're kind of bumping up and down a little bit. But we're still looking for the known suspect in this particular case. And while we were off camera, the call got downgraded to just a petty theft. So once we get on scene, like I said, a call can start off being, sounding really dramatic and sounding really, ooh, this is going to be a cool one or whatever. Once you get on scene and you find out a little bit more information, that's why it's so important for our officers to have one officer go contact the reporting party or the victim or whoever it is, whoever has that most information, and get good, solid, confirmed information from them. Obviously, they can kind of take the wind out of the sails of a call pretty quick. So,
well, and the officer knows what to ask too, where the informing party is just kind of saying what they think they should say.
Exactly, and you got to remember too that a lot of these calls come in on a 911 line. Our dispatchers do a great job of gathering as much initial information as they can, but where the truth really starts to come out, or the actual facts start to really come out, is when an officer comes out and talks to a person face to face.
And they don't go off-roading.
They don't go off-roading, no. So this case, like I said, it started off as a what could have been a very serious crime and serious investigation. It got whittled down to a little bit of a petty theft situation. Not that we're not going to investigate it. They'll still take a crime report and see what happens from there.
496. 496. All right, come on down. Let's applaud, guys. They're winners. Let's applaud. Next gift is from Lucky Gold and Silver Barbie Jewelry. 541. 541. Going once.
Come on, y'all, put your hands together.
That you're enjoying the summer, and there's no better way to enjoy it but by being safe and not a victim of crimes.
Right, exactly. We're out here at the Buena Park Mall, And it's the continuation of the concerts that we have over the summertime. We had concerts in the park over at Buena Park earlier, and I think we saw the Beatles at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Now we're seeing 70s
Now we're seeing
music.
the 70s and disco music, so it's all good. But it's the same atmosphere, pretty much probably the same crowd. But as you can see, a pretty good turnout tonight for the 70s music that's being played. But again, it's one of those community activities that it's a lot of fun. It brings everybody together and have a good time.
But you gotta watch your stuff, right?
Yeah, we talked about this before, is that, there's good people here. Believe me, there's nothing but good people here. But you still want to be careful. You don't want to be leaving your stuff laying around. You don't want to leave your purse unattended. You don't want to leave, your car keys unattended or something like that. It's just, again, like I said, good people here, but you just still got to be careful. You don't want to be losing stuff like that.
Well, it's nice that the CAPS volunteers are around.
Right, exactly. Matter of fact, we have at least a half a dozen of our volunteers out here in the white shirts. We probably saw them around, walking around. They're keeping an eye on things. Obviously, they will let us know if there's any problems, but it's good to have them here because they do such a great job with interacting with the crowds, with the people, and like I said, if they see something, they have radios, they're able to contact us, and we're able to roll back out here and help out if needed.
And in the meantime, they get to enjoy the music.
I tell you, that is a great gig, as they get to sit here and listen to all this good music. Pay is probably not too good. Volunteers, so they don't get paid a whole lot, but at the same time, it's they really enjoy their work.
So we're on Beach Boulevard, and now with it being the summer, there are a lot of people that are trying to cross this street. And you and I both know the cars drive very quickly. So, what happens? Like, we saw somebody tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we saw somebody crossing outside of a sidewalk and wearing dark clothes, and we made a loop back here and tried to catch them, but they're obviously gone. I'm not sure exactly where they went, but it's just so dangerous, especially you're talking about 4 lanes of traffic on one side and 4 lanes on the opposite side. So that's 8 lanes of traffic that these people are trying to get across. And yeah, there's a center median there, but people don't have a tendency, or they have a tendency to think that, oh, that car's not going that fast, especially when you're on foot. But I'll tell you, at night, it's just so much different when you're standing out there and you're trying to judge the speed of a car that's coming at you, and you can't really tell exactly how fast it's going. But just all in all, it's just a very dangerous thing. We always, obviously encourage people to use crosswalks when they are crossing major streets like this.
Well, and that guy that we saw, those cars were coming really quickly up on him.
This is I think a 40-mile-an-hour zone through here, and people will travel 40, 45, sometimes 50 miles an hour.
55, 60.
Well, we have motor officers that work this strip of highway here. So, but yeah, you're right though. It's just you get some of these cars that maybe they're not paying attention, and it's dark. People wearing dark clothing can't really see them. But yeah, it's just you really got to slow down. You got to pay attention, and you got to make sure you use crosswalks.
Talking about crosswalks, I see a lot of cars that will stop. Use this road for example, this beach highway, and the person is way over on the other side of the corner, and they won't make a turn. So, what are the rules when somebody's in a crosswalk? When can you turn or not turn?
Well, the pedestrian inside of a crosswalk generally has the right of way. What you're talking about, let's say for example, we're coming up here and we're gonna make a right hand on La Palma. If there's somebody, let's say, standing on the corner that we're at, and he's going to go, southbound on and through the crosswalk. Obviously, we have to wait for him to enter the
get off the curb, right, and make the cross
and start walking across. Now, once he's out of your lane of travel, or out of danger zone, I guess we can call it, you are allowed to make that right-hand turn.
Okay, so what about though if I'm making that right turn and they're coming across, so their final destination point will be past my car?
Gotcha. If let's say for example, the guy's on the opposite side of the street and he's walking northbound, and we want to make that same right-hand turn onto La Palma. Let's say, for example, the light just turned green and we got the green light and he's just stepping off the curb. You don't technically have to wait for him to get all the way across 8 lanes of highway there to yield to him. So as long as you're not interfering with his plane of travel, if you're not interfering with his progress, in other words, putting him in any type of danger, you can still make that turn. Now, when he starts getting closer to about the midway point, yeah, that's when you're going to have to start yielding to these people. But if he's just stepping off the curb, you can you can make that right-hand turn as long as you're not impeding him or putting him in any type of danger. Now, there's a caveat to that, though. Let's say, for example, it's during school season or during the school year, and there is a person there, a crossing guard with a uniform on and the stop sign and everything. Now that changes everything.
Everything.
Everything, yes. That person, if the person goes out with the stop sign and is in the crosswalk, it doesn't matter where you're at, you have to stop for that pedestrian that's going across until that crossing guard gets back either on the other side or back on your side of the thing there. So let's say, for example,
Or puts their sign down.
well, no, it's actually they'll hold it up while they're out there in the crosswalk. But then as soon as they get back onto the curb and then put their sign down, then it's free. You're free to go. But like I said, though, here's the thing: is that pedestrian and the sign, the crosswalk guy might be on the opposite side, and it's perfectly clear for you to go. You're not endangering anybody. You're not doing anything, but it's a violation if you go as that guy is in the crosswalk.
So if there is someone with a stop sign,
Right.
that means stop. You have no excuse.
You have no excuse. You have to wait until he is out of the sidewalk or out of the crosswalk and back up on the sidewalk. But again, like I said, if it's one of those things where there is no crossing guard, as long as you're not impeding the person or putting the pedestrian in danger, you can make your right-hand turn.
You know, especially on Beach Boulevard, and especially when Knott's Berry Farm is at its peak, you have so many people that stand on that corner. I would think that if you're going to make a turn, you just got to wait. You got to see if they're going to jump off the curb or not.
And again, the pedestrian in a crosswalk, in a marked crosswalk, has the right-of-way. Okay, so you have to yield to that person that's in the crosswalk. Now, again, like I said, as long as you're not impeding with their path of travel, you're okay. As long as you give them that right of way and let them go where they need to go without endangering them. Because when you think about it, you're talking about a 5,000-pound car versus a 150-pound person. Obviously, the more weight's going to win.
Big ouch factor.
Big ouch factor, exactly. And we obviously want people to safely cross streets. We also want the drivers to be aware of what's going on around them.
I would think that the officers or the motor officers are probably a little bit more touchy about those crosswalk violations just because of the potential injury.
I've been here a long time, and some of the worst accidents that I have seen have been along this stretch of highway here. As far as auto pedestrian type of things, and like I said, usually they're fatal, and that's very, very unfortunate. But yes, we actually have our motor or our traffic division actually works operations where they will go out and, like, that day or that operation that's all they're doing is giving pedestrian tickets, people jaywalking, people, or vice versa, people not yielding to people in sidewalks. So,
Or how about yielding to jaywalkers, right? You have to yield. You can't make target practice.
Well, exactly, yeah. If somebody is jumping in front of your car, you can't say, okay, let's go get them.
But you still got to slow down.
You got to slow down. You have to yield to that pedestrian that's in the roadway. But again, that doesn't condone that they are crossing outside of a crosswalk.
How bad is a ticket for a violation of a crosswalk? Any idea?
I don't know exactly how much a violation would cost for that particular type of ticket. I would imagine it's probably pretty steep. I think to myself, where I know that for example, the ticket for the not yielding to a bus that's pulled over, like a school bus that's pulled over with the red lights flashing, I know that's like over $500 nowadays. So that's pretty expensive. So I would imagine.
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm guessing on that one, but I've heard that those are over $500. But as far as not yielding to pedestrians in crosswalks and things like that, I'm sure it's pretty stiff penalty. Yep.
Well, that's it about tonight's show. If you have any questions, you can call the Buena Park Police Department at 562-3901 and check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and
Website.
And, well, of course, and the website, bppd.com. With Sergeant Mike Levchick of the Buena Park Police Department, I'm Jane Cameron. Be safe. Thanks for watching.